Today's SmackDown is headlined by Roman Reigns finally getting face to face with Cody Rhodes, and it's been a long time coming, this one. Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble 5 weeks ago, and since then he's been working opposite Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns, for his part, has been keeping his distance, but we are opening with all-out face-to-face warfare. This is going to be our WrestleMania main event, and they need to start hyping it, because so far, gotta be honest, Sami Zayn has taken all of the headlines. Hello everyone and welcome. You are joining me, Tom Colohue, ready for a SmackDown which will be finally feeling like a WrestleMania build. Joseph Bridgewood is here first, saying looking forward to it. The show just starting here. Shayna Baszler will be taking on Tegan Nox, as Simon says right there. Ronda and Shayna will no longer be teaming up on this particular SmackDown, but Ronda will be on Raw this upcoming week. Christoph says SmackDown looks interesting tonight. Looking forward to it as well. Good. We are opening with Roman. There will be Solo Sikoa versus Sami Zayn later in the night. There has been no suggestion that Jimmy or Jey Uso will be involved in this one. Paul Heyman undoubtedly will feature as well. I'd imagine he's carrying the belts for Roman at the very least before we really dive into it. We do indeed see Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa along with Roman Reigns and of course Paul Heyman. Cody Rhodes has no backup, but he does have the option of Sami Zayn. I'd imagine this may be the night when the two of them combine. Bailey says, hello Tom, how far down the card is Tegan Nox at this point? Heavily down the card, to a point where tonight might be the moment when she sort of falls off the card for a while. Sean is here saying Ridge Holland and Butch versus New Day was a pre-show dark match. The New Day have not been on TV all that much recently, and when they do, they tend not to be a key feature. We had Kofi Kingston, of course, winning against Karrion Kross recently, when he really should have been losing that one. Joseph says, I'm really looking forward to John Cena on Monday in his hometown. I think Austin Theory will attack John Cena which will confirm for WrestleMania. Thomas Phipps says, so Tom, how does it feel that we're as close as we've ever been to having Jay White versus Seth versus Finn versus AJ? Good. I think the only thing I can really say to that is good, but in reality, I'm starting to burst from excitement on the inside. Huge boos for Roman Reigns. Eric says, how far off the card is Liv? Don't know, couldn't tell you. She could well still feature on the WrestleMania card in the tag division. We don't know at this point in time. We have a signed guy who has a number of signs sitting ringside, which I'm quite happy about. Roman Reigns is apparently Steven Seagal. The beard is sort of working in that favour. Christoph says hopefully we'll see KO helping Sami tonight. I don't think tonight's the night. I think tonight's a Sami and Cody rub. But I thought that for a while. Roman Reigns have a graphic of both championships superimposed onto him. Somebody forgot to actually edit those in. Thomas says, I genuinely don't know who will pop more if Jay White turns up between me or you. Oh, it's going to be me. I'm a scream. I'm a meltdown. I'm a meltdown a little bit. Sean says, Tom, did you see the possibility spoiler for the main event for Backlash? No, and I'm okay with that. So, to be clear, Sean, this is not spoiler warning. Please don't be posting it. After all, it says possible spoiler, so chances are it's not. Roman Reigns is in the ring. I will say I'm quite liking the increase in the grey right there. There's a bit of Silver Fox coming through. Man's looking good. Jimmy Uso has also been bulking out. Tell me if I'm wrong there, but I think Jimmy Uso has been bulking out there. At this point, Solo Sikoa championships conspicuous by their absence. The one's 2 down after all. Traffic says, I could see them dragging out, making KO and Sami official until the week before Mania, if that's the direction they're headed, of course. I expect so, yes. Ultimately, Kevin Owens and Jimmy Uso are sort of side characters here. The real story is between Sami and Jey, as to whether or not Sami can convince Jey to turn. And I don't mean face or heel turn, I mean turn on the family. Peter says, evening Tom, hope you're okay. Welcome Peter, doing very well, thank you. Traffic says, good evening everyone. Good evening Traffic, how you doing? Thomas says, after Mania, who do you think will be Cody's first feud? For a moment, I did think Bobby was in position, but Bray is going to destroy him now, so I would imagine Finn Balor would make the most sense. The fans are confused between chanting Sami and chanting Cody there. Nice to see. If you are just joining us, please do remember to hit that thumbs up. Every like makes a massive impact on the growth of the show and the growth of the channel. We can only have 14 viewers and only the 6 likes, so if you can hit like, please remember to do so. Roman yet to speak, 6 minutes in. Here we go. Joseph says, good evening to Traffic as well. What I was saying earlier, I'm going to be 23 on my birthday for WrestleMania this year, so I'll be just relaxing, getting drunk, watching it. I hope you have a great time, Joseph, mate. Hope you have a great time for it. We'll be doing our usual watch parties. I may get a little bit drunk myself. Joey says, gotta love Roman and the long entrances. The man can tease. He really can. No Simon, no news on that tag team. I know it's happened, but there's really not much planning gone into it. Kieran says, a returning Orton on the Raw after Mania would be an insane start to Cody's first feud. Not going to happen. The man's still injured. Give him time. Cody Rhodes with pyro, no socks, and a very nice suit has arrived. In many ways, I sometimes feel that Seth Rollins had to wear bad suits just so that Cody would look even better by comparison. It's not the biggest pop, but it's a pop nonetheless. Here's where we found out if it's a big pop. That's a big pop. People are getting behind the music. Castellar, welcome. Says, just book a tag team title ladder match at WrestleMania where the Usos defend the titles against Sami and Owens. I would not have any issue with it being a ladder match. I really say so. Sound guy is calling Roman Reigns and the Bloodline Roman and his little Zerglings. There's a StarCraft player if I've ever seen one. Joey says, do you think the King of the Ring will decide who wins the Universal Championship if Cody drops the title? No, I think it'll have no correlation whatsoever. Thomas says, who do you have Jay White feud with personally? Would love a feud with Edge. Right, I laid this out a little bit earlier. Seth Rollins. Then he joins Judgment Day. Faces off against AJ Styles. Then he faces Cody at SummerSlam but loses because Finn Balor of Judgment Day tries to kick him out. And ultimately that makes a whole power struggle. So after that he faces Finn Balor. At that point, I'd have him face someone of like standard WWE mold, Drew McIntyre for example. Before then, it would be the Royal Rumble. Castellar says, if the Usos get beat, then the one that retrieves the tag belts, Sami or Owens, would be inserted into the main event of Cody versus Reigns. That's not going to happen. The main event of WrestleMania will be one-on-one Cody versus Roman Reigns. Been planned for a long time. Simon says, why doesn't the WWE see Sami Zayn as a main event level player like Kevin Owens, a former Universal Champion and WrestleMania main eventer? Kevin Owens has never main evented WrestleMania. Kevin Owens has not main evented WrestleMania, so I don't know where you're getting information from. Kieran says, I miss ladder matches. Feels like we don't get them as much as we used to. We don't seem to, no. We have ourselves a head-to-head. Castellar says, Chad Gable is putting over everyone big time. The man can wrestle real good. Traffic says, I'd like Jay to challenge Cody at first, only for Roman to get pissed at Jay for finally stepping on his toes for the last time, thinking he can do what Roman does, so then Jay can go over on Roman. I still want to see Roman versus Jay. Cody trying to play up the whole need for the bloodline, calling Roman a coward, after a fashion. Roman's enjoying this. Hasn't started speaking yet. Cody's waiting for something. He's sending Paul Heyman away. Solo, a bit insubordinate here. You've just been told he goes too. Roman taking the bait from Cody. Paul Heyman making sure Roman is holding his championships. Thomas says, you've really thought about that, Tom. To be fair, mate, during the show earlier on, spoiler warning, we went into it a bit deep and I really enjoyed that bit of fantasy booking. Thomas says, who would you have retire Edge? Probably Randy. Guys have got history. Justin Check, welcome, says this is going to be special. Castellar says Sammy's a new Daniel Bryan underdog for 2023. Certainly working that way for him. Roman and Cody are now one-on-one in the ring. Roman is disrespecting the WWE Championship. Cody's not going to like that. Is he going to step on the belts? This is how you know Roman's losing. When you start disrespecting the championships. That's that. Oh God, Roman's good. Oh, you forget how good he is. So what do you want to talk about? You wanted a head-to-head? Here we are. Dom says, what's up, Tom and chat? Don't forget to the like button, or we have 2 words for you. Remember to. We've already shot up to 11 likes. Roman needs to stop acting the camera. I'm not ready for it. That little wink was glorious. Please do remember to hit like if you haven't already. 17 viewers, 11 likes so far. Hector says, happy Friday, Tom. It's crazy to me that we've got development, promotion, and now release date and trailer for an AW reality show before Fight Forever has even hit the shelves. Very true. And Fight Forever seems to be taking a very long time. Chad says, Gunter past life was a butcher. He knows how to cut a nice chop. Wow. And Bailey says, arrived late to spoiler warning. This question may already have been answered. Is it possible there are no buyers willing to pay Vince's asking price? It's possible, but Saudi Arabia are very, very interested. Hector says, fun fact, it'll be 7 years to the date in April since Cody's last SmackDown appearance. Interesting. And Sean says, how do you know that means Roman's losing? Because when you disrespect the championships, the WWE management get very annoyed. Not often you hear reference to Stardust, I'll tell you that. Christoph, Kevin Owens being the main event for night 1 of WrestleMania. That's not the main event of WrestleMania. The main event of WrestleMania is night 2 of WrestleMania. In the same way, they said Sasha Banks had main evented WrestleMania. She didn't. The main event of WrestleMania is the final match of WrestleMania. That's what a main event is. Joseph says, I think Cody and Roman are going to fight. I don't see it. Cody's wearing a suit. If there's any fight, he's just going to get punched. Particularly Superman punched. No, Simon. Charlotte's not going to interfere. Why would she? She's a face. Again, Roman cutting deep. Joseph says Roman has plenty of weaknesses. He can hit like an elimination chamber. Everyone was against him. Thomas says AEW reference. Absolutely. He will drop everything he needs. Roman going after the jugular here. Mocking Cody for never competing for top gold. To be fair, he competed for top gold in AEW and then was banned for it. The fans are really playing along with Roman here. Traffic says still especially at that night 1 final match, but yeah, not the main event of WrestleMania. Wiggly says, wow, did Cody just refer to AEW as an indie show? Burn. The man knows how to please his corporate overlords. Oh no, we're getting personal now. Okay, so far, Roman is destroying Cody Rhodes. Christoph says 30 days left before Cody conquered the island of relevancy. On the strength of this, maybe not. Joey says Cody can use his suit jacket as a weapon. Joseph says, Tom, when could you see Randy coming back? Joseph, I've already posted a video on YouTube about the return schedule of Randy Orton. By all means, check it out. Everyone wants to talk about Cody's dad. No one wants to talk about Cody. Curvin, that match is not happening tonight. No. Oh, Roman's doing impressions now. It's a good impression too. Okay, the fans are choosing Roman right now. The WWE won't be too happy with this. John says Tegan versus Shayna. I thought it was Ronda versus Tegan. It is not. Traffic says that Roman sort of just nailed that Dusty impression. Wouldn't have guessed that. Nor I. From the first word, he just had it. Cody better have a good response to this, because so far he is down for like 15. I knew that's what Roman was going to say, but it's still nice to hear. Thomas says any segment with Roman in it is the best thing going in wrestling. He's making the case for Cody here and doing very well on it. The use of silence and pause, we don't respect the acting chops of Roman Reigns enough. Joseph The Rock is not coming back at SummerSlam. Where did you see that? They're lying to you. Roman has retrieved his championships. Joey says, would be nice if they talked more about Cody instead of making the whole thing about Dusty, which is not unfair. It's been a long time since anyone has been this defined by their father. Thomas says, I want Jay White versus Roman. There, I said it. I'm sorry. And Dom says Roman is killing him on the mic right now. He needs a very firm response. Hector says, I hope we get Dustin in Roman's promo at any point in the build-up, because it's there for the picking. Justin checks says Roman is God tier, which is right. Roman at this point just looks confused. Where are you going with this, Cody? Where's Cody going with this? Because at this point he just looks like a depressed former wrestler. He looks burnt out. Cody's not coming out of this looking good. I don't understand his argument here. Kevin says Charlotte and Rhea Ripley main event night 1. Okay, but storyline needs to be good or nobody's going to care about it. Well, the final match of night 1, whatever it may be, we'll find out. That Cody needed a lot more than that. Roman Reigns just destroyed Cody. If that's supposed to get us hyped for WrestleMania, I am not hyped. That was not good. I'm going to tweet that. Roman Reigns just utterly annihilated Cody Rhodes. I am less excited for WrestleMania than I was before. Bad moment for Cody. Sai says that was a squash, and it absolutely was. Welcome, Sai. Hector says, to be fair, Tom, Roman destroyed Cena as well, and Cena was one of the best on the mic. Debatable point. I actually think for a lot of those promos, Roman was on the back foot. Roman wasn't then what he is now. I genuinely think that's all we get from Cody. If so, that's very disappointing. Sami Zayn will take on Solo Sikoa. Up next, Rhea Ripley will take on Liv Morgan in our opening match of the night. We have started with a good old-fashioned 20-minute promo. Thomas says it's an okay start as long as it keeps on building until Mania. It needs to build a lot more on Cody's side, I tell you that. Kevin says, if I'm booking WrestleMania 39, my main event of night 1 is Brock Lesnar versus Omos. You say night 1, let's just... Given what we've just seen, forget it. Forget the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes. Forget the Cody Rhodes. Let's get Omos in the main event with Roman. Okay? He might be someone who stands a chance. God knows someone's got to, because that was embarrassing for Cody. That was not a good moment for him at all. We have our first commercial break. I'm going to take this opportunity to advertise the show a little bit more with a good old-fashioned post on Twitter. Traffic says, wait, Cody came to SmackDown to let Roman say whatever he wanted and not say anything bad. Yeah, pretty much. Joseph says, Tom, do you think there is a chance Austin Theory will attack John Cena? Then they will confirm the match. There is always a chance. Everything is on the table. That's the planned match, though, and I don't see any reason it won't happen. Makes perfect sense to me, you know? So, we are live right now, watching Cody Rhodes get demolished by Roman Reigns. Come join in. Sean says, hope that doesn't make WWE see that Cody should lose at Mania now. Why would it? They've already booked the finish. Hector says we're going to be 30 minutes in before the first match. Just says I'm not in. Fair enough. Look, not everyone's behind the Omos plan, but let's give it a chance. Let's not jump the gun. Let's give it a shot. Joey says more like no Moss. Wow. Christoph says, amazing how Roman has improved on the mic. We shouldn't be too harsh on Cody. After all, it was just the first piece of the build-up. The first piece of the build-up was Cody versus Paul Heyman the week after the Royal Rumble. This is not the first piece of the build-up. They only have 3 weeks left. They need to ramp it up, and that was not good enough. Gomar says, I guess they're trying their best to make Cody the underdog for this match. Anyone wrestling Roman Reigns is automatically the underdog. I don't feel the need to make him an underdog. He's already in that position. Also, welcome, Gomar. How you doing, mate? Joseph says, I think the reason why The Rock did not come back because everyone knew The Rock would lose against Roman. Nope. The reason The Rock didn't come back is because at no point was The Rock booked to come back. At no point was The Rock available to come back. And at no point did the WWE convince The Rock to come back. There was never any plan for The Rock to come back. Traffic says, to be honest, seems like Cody was just a distraction for Reigns, not to address Jey. Very possibly. Very possibly. Joey says, almost can't wrestle. What chance is there to give him? Well, I'd imagine, even whether he can or can't, Brock Lesnar's the guy to give him a great match. We'll see how it goes. Kervin is asking, better group, Toxic Attraction, or Damage Control? They served very different purposes. Damage Control putting over more people. Kieran says, maybe Cody needs to pull out the Suffering Succotash. Maybe that's the right time. Sai says, agree this isn't the time for slow burns. It has taken just far too long. We need it to hype up. We need it to ramp up. This is not the time for slow motion. Someone's got to dive in both feet first. Sean says, I'd like to see the betting odds for WrestleMania. I wonder if Roman is favoured. If Roman is favoured, don't take that bet. Dom says, if Omos is still stiff in wrestling, he's going to take a real beating in Suplex City. I don't think he can get the height to make Suplex City look good. I really don't. Thomas Phipps says, feel like they are making Cody the ultimate underdog, making Reigns appear on another level so that when Cody defeats him, it'll be even more shocking. It's not... I know that's a thing that a lot of people talk about, that, but we don't always have to have an underdog. There doesn't always have to be a massive underdog in this. Sometimes you can get two wrestlers roughly of a level just going at it. Kieran says Cody's favourite on the bookies. Not really a surprise. That may have something to do with the fact that I keep saying this is going to happen. Rhea Ripley's on her way down to the ring. Dominic Mysterio alongside her. I think it's very possible that Rey Mysterio manages to get a bit of retribution on Dominic here, which could certainly cause some carnage on the outside. The rest of Judgment Day are not in attendance, but as I've already mentioned, one of the big benefits of Rhea Ripley winning the Royal Rumble is that Dominic Mysterio can turn up on SmackDown a lot more often. This means they can book both to the match against Charlotte Flair and against Rey Mysterio at the same time. Traffic says Roman is already on another level anyway. He doesn't need to appear that way. Kieran says Rhea is even more of a favourite at the bookies though. Cody's at 1.6 and Rhea is at 1.25. Surprising me. Very much a surprise. I think the only reason for that is that Roman is Roman. Christoph says, you're right, Tom. I was meaning as far as Cody and Roman are concerned, but yeah, Cody didn't look good. He did not. Did not look good at all. We're not getting much of a response for Liv Morgan anymore. The fans aren't really backing her. Situations like this, I always think back to Rusev Day. Fans got really behind Rusev Day, kept saying that Rusev deserved better, then stopped. The fans stopped. The fans weren't exactly screaming for more Rusev Day. They just stopped. It's a feel I'm starting to get from Liv as well. Fans aren't responding. They're just not. Joseph says, what I don't get why is Logan Paul, the WWE Logan Paul, can't do nothing. Logan Paul was just a YouTuber. I think Seth Rollins should have a shocking opponent. Logan Paul is a shocking opponent. He is quite good in the ring. I have to give him his dues. He's certainly put the work in, and he does bring a lot of eyes to the product. I believe he is the most followed on Instagram of any current WWE wrestler by quite a margin. That's good stuff. That draws fans. And the WWE are trying right now to approach Gen Z. Essentially, the future. They want to freshen up. They want to bring in more young viewers. Logan Paul's kind of the guy. Rhea Ripley, also an important person to build that connection. Thomas says maybe it will go like Reigns had the better of Cody this week, but next time Cody has Roman's number, so that continues until Mania. We'll see how it goes. I don't have the highest of hopes. I don't think that'll surprise anyone given what we've just seen. Eric says, will Liv have anyone to counteract Dom? Who would she have? Outside of Rey Mysterio, who's not there for Liv, there is no one she would have. Rhea has friends. Liv Morgan does not. Kieran says, one thing I don't like though is Bianca's favourite to beat Asuka. I don't see that one happening. Traffic says, I respect Liv. Not like trying to throw shade, but when I think of possible dream matches in WWE for the women, I don't really think of Liv for any dream match. You are entitled to that opinion, sir. You are entitled to it. Hector says, not saying it could happen, but I couldn't honestly see Omos and Brock ending early or being a squash match in Brock's favour, and if the rumours become reality and they want Stone Cold, they could have him come out and stun Lesnar. Just a thought. Not going to happen. Brock Lesnar would immediately veto anything that makes him look that weak. Sean says, the odds can always change. Remember, Brock was favoured over Roman until 3 weeks before the show. True, very true. And Roman was favoured to beat Brock at WrestleMania 34, and then Brock Lesnar won. Bailey says, remember when the fans stopped supporting Nikki Cross? Her place in the lineup dropped precipitously. Also, she never recovered it. She never recovered it. Even now, she hasn't recovered it. That was not a very strong suicide dive from Liv. She just didn't pick up much in the way of momentum. I like the JD on Rhea Ripley's cheek. Talking directly to the camera, not even concerned with Liv Morgan. Kevin Dunn wanting to cut. You can feel Kevin Dunn wanting to cut away for that whole time period. And just knowing that he absolutely can't. He just can't take the risk because Rhea Ripley is talking and you do not cut away while Rhea Ripley is talking. Christoph says the casual audience pretty much knows Liv won't win this. Might explain the deaf reception tonight, just guessing. It's not the first time. It's not the first time. The Daily Mail Airwolf does not report wrestling news. If the Daily Mail has said that, they are re-reporting it from someone else. There is no CM Punk return plan for the WWE. Eric says, so Logan, Cena and Omos can have matches but Liv can't. Yes, for several reasons. Firstly, Logan Paul, once again, drawing in a huge amount of casual audience, particularly amongst the Gen Z that they are targeting. John Cena, drawing in a huge amount of audience, particularly ones who started watching or were watching during, for example, 2002 to 2010. As regards Omos, Brock made the choice. Liv Morgan's not going to face Brock Lesnar, is she? So where to get Brock Lesnar on the card? There are reasons for this. There are reasons. Okay? Also, once again, we are not certain that Liv Morgan will not be in a WrestleMania match. Okay? Joey says, I love Kevin Dunn's camera cuts every 10 seconds. Would rather have seen Bronson Reed versus Brock. If that's what Brock wanted, I'm sure that's what Brock would have got. But I think Bronson Reed's just too new to the company. Omos, ultimately, his entire career has been pretty forgettable so far. It's not entirely his fault, but he's just not been given much to work with. There are reasons for that. There are reasons for it. I'm just going to pour myself some cherry coke because I finally have cherry coke again. I'm sure quite a lot of people in here remember the cherry coke fascination phase I went through. Joseph says, I think Rey Mysterio is going to come out and start attacking Dominic. I mean, that's certainly possible. I did say that at the beginning of the match as well. I think that could fit very nicely. Get some revenge there. That could provide a distraction from which Liv Morgan could potentially win. I don't see it happening though because Rhea Ripley has lost a lot of matches en route to WrestleMania. Horsey says, I was just catching up the last part of Spoiler Warning. Did you talk the Vince Triple H news? What is the Vince Triple H news, Horsey? What is the Vince Triple H news? Clarify that for me and I'll let you know. Peter says Cherry Coke Zero is the best. That's exactly what I've got. Joey says I think Omos would have been better as someone's muscle. Someone his size has never had success. You say that, but the Big Show was a multiple-time world champion. Braun Strowman has been a multiple-time world champion. You are, Eric. Ideally, if you're personally aggrieved that one of your favourites is not the best in the world, you're too invested in this. And that's not a good thing. Like, I really like Jay White. He lost at Wrestle Kingdom in the main event. I'm not going to sit here and say he was buried. He wasn't. He wasn't. A few Wrestle Kingdoms ago, he was in a sort of a four-way tournament, and he came fourth of the four. Did I say he was buried? No. No. I gave it time, I enjoyed the matches, and I relaxed. We all need to calm the hell down as regards trying to make sure our favourites are the best in the world, because in order for someone to win, someone's got to lose. Wrestling is cyclical. Different people get different opportunities. Liv Morgan looking good right now. Telling Rhea Ripley to suck it. Sold a code breaker in a very interesting way. Looked quite nice, I'll give it that. Joseph says, Tom, if you'd like to see anyone come back, who would it be for you? Adam Cole. Under this administration, Adam Cole is the guy. That said, I do think Samoa Joe's the next big one who's coming back and having big success. Potentially Horsey. There was a discussion about who's booking at the moment. I made it clear that it was Triple H, but Vince McMahon was making suggestions. Joseph says the reason is because Logan Paul and John Cena are big superstars. They are. And that needs to be something that we're aware of. The idea that, oh, Logan Paul gets a chance and Liv Morgan doesn't. Yes, that's right. He does. because what he brings to the company is much bigger than what Liv Morgan can bring to the company right now. Yes, you might personally not be satisfied with this choice, but he brings in huge amounts of viewership. Huge. Oh, lovely reversal powerbomb from Rhea Ripley. This is a good match so far. Rhea's going for the finish. Oh, the Riptide looks a lot better now. She's not gone for the pin. Dominic Mysterio not really involved in anything so far, just sort of sitting in the background. Ah, Rhea wants a tap. Rhea wants a tap. Oh, she's just kneeling on her head at this point. And Liv Morgan taps. Now what that's called in the business is doing a favour. The expectation is that at some point in the future Liv Morgan will get that back. Now Liv Morgan was recently the women's champion, so at this point she's not being buried, she's giving back. That's not a huge shock. This is where she should be. You have a big year, you follow that up by having a not so big year. Wrestling is cyclical. You can't always be at the top. Sean says, remember, this isn't the first time Brock has said no to a match. According to Road Dogg, Brock said no to a match with Jinder at Survivor Series and said no to working with Kevin Owens. Kieran says, I've noticed since Triple H has taken over, a lot of superstars do the crotch chop now. Very true. Rhea basically making it an art form. Traffic says, Godman would love the Undisputed Era versus Imperium and the Bloodline. I just wish Triple H could have took over before they left. Undisputed Era, not going to be happening. Very little interest in Bobby Fish, I'll say that. Joey says, do you think Gigi Dolan could get called up now that she's on her own? Yes, because she's going to be with the company for many, many years from now, and at some point they're going to have nothing for her in NXT. Horsey, thank you kindly for that donation. Donating £5 and saying, thanks for all your work, by the way. I know you always say it, but it needs to be said, mate. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you very kindly for the continual support, especially when you consider that you're making money from your own efforts now, and I'm really happy with how well you're doing over there as well. Sai says, always great to have our favourites. That's what makes any sport. Wrestling is unique, though. Even a loss isn't necessarily a bad thing. Not everything is black and white or dealt in extremes. Eric says, that's great. Let me ask you this, though. When was the last time she won a match? A while back? Sami Zayn basically lost matches for an entire year, and look at him now. Wrestling is cyclical. Christoph says, Rhea looked strong. Liv looked good. Nice work. Sean says, there's a difference between being buried and giving back. Yep, and right now she's giving back. If she was going to be buried, it would be something very different. Joseph says, that's another point. Could Samoa Joe come back and destroy Roman? Everything is on the table. Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns had quite a storied feud. The match quality was not the greatest, but under Triple H, I would imagine it'll be a lot better, particularly with this version of Roman Reigns. So personally, I'd definitely be leaning in that direction myself. I'd like to see it. That's the main thing for me. I'd like to see it. As far as I'm concerned, as long as I'd like to see it, it's guaranteed to be good. Samoa Joe, I think, is the one I miss the most. Thomas says, no, it has to be Samoa Joe versus Gunter. Thomas, Samoa Joe can have more than one match. This is another one of those issues that we seem to have. We can have as many matches as we want. If someone's in the company for a couple of years, they can have so many matches. Eric says, when will it be time for Roman and the Usos to get back then? Very soon. Particularly WrestleMania, which is why Roman and the Usos will be losing at WrestleMania. Their time to give back, and give back in a big way, is now. I'd think if you're here regularly, Eric, you'd know that. Joey says Brock works better against smaller guys. Some of his best matches were against Daniel Bryan, AJ and Ray. I agree. His match against Finn Balor was quite fun as well. Joseph says, look at all the big movies. John Cena has done Fast and Furious 9, Playing with Fire, Die Head. He was in, but there was talk in John Cena in his Fast and Furious 10. He was playing in Fire. Playing with Fire. Sean says, this version of Roman versus John Moxley, said it before, say it again. That would be a hell of a feud. Bailey says, where do you see WWE positioning Rhea after WrestleMania? Is it too early to see her as a face of the women's division, or does she have to turn face to be accepted in that role? She will be the top of the SmackDown women's division. I wouldn't necessarily sit here and call her the face of the company or the face of the brand. Charlotte Flair likely to retain that role, but Rhea Ripley will be clearly at the top, booked and used strongly. She will be in the lead position of the women's division. To be fair, it's one of those. A lot of people have been really behind Rhea Ripley for a long time, and even though she is a former women's champion, she very quickly lost that championship. She was never treated as a particularly big deal. She was always looking like something of an afterthought. They could always have done better. Now, we have an opportunity for a redo with Rhea Ripley, where they can treat her as something bigger, something more important, something that can really change the game, and someone they can strap a rocket to. Kieran says, I'm looking forward to this Rhea dominance. Dominance is a good word for it. Hector says, unfortunately I was unable to catch earlier spoiler warning. Is there any kind of update on Jay White? If he does go to WWE, I'd love to see him make one appearance in GCW before he does so. There was an update on that. It's about 15 minutes in. So if you skip to about 15 minutes, it'll be right there. The Bloodline are backstage. Jimmy is trying to buy time for his brother. Roman is unconvinced. Solo is unconvinced. You can see Solo's unconvinced. Joey says, I agree. Rhea's first title run was very lackluster and boring. She's pretty much holding the title for Charlotte's return. Handing the championship off to Charlotte Flair is kind of Rhea's thing lately, unfortunately. True of NXT as well. Roman Reigns is turning on Jimmy Uso. Somebody's not happy. So the first 40 minutes or so, even though we've had the Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan match, it does feel very much built around the Bloodline. This has been the Bloodline show so far. We've so far had one match, one promo, and we're a third of the way through SmackDown. And now we get a, and I quote, progressive match flow, Rey Mysterio and Karrion Kross. We're not going to see Karrion Kross tonight, I don't think. I just think it's kind of unfortunate that Karrion Kross has been put in a position by the booking where he's clearly, I think, fourth in this particular story after Dominic, Rey, and in fact Scarlett. It is a bit Mark Merrow, and not in people cheering and screaming for Scarlett. That's not happening. It's just that Karrion Kross is so unimportant in the overall feud that Scarlett is naturally above it. This was a vehicle for Dominic and Rey, after all, in order to get to their match at WrestleMania, which I do believe may well be Rey's last. Interestingly, this feud was written because of a tweet that Rey sent out many years ago saying that he couldn't wait to get home and beat his kids in a 2K game. Yes, I think it was a 2K game. We all believe what we want to believe. Sean says, happy for Becky. She joins the elite list of Triple Crown Women's Champions. Also mentioned earlier on in the conversation between Roman Reigns and the Son of the Dream. Rhea and Dominic are backstage. Theme that they're encountering Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar recently basically has forgotten Legado and he's just working alongside Rey. It's an establishing position. Santos essentially is being chosen to be the representative of Rey Mysterio. We're getting a little bit of Santos' personality here. He is still largely defined by someone else, but it's very early in the day for Santos to really establish himself. This is a good way to tell us who he is. I think Dominic's probably going to win this. but it's a good opportunity for Santos regardless. Hector says, is there any chance that Triple H has maybe lost faith in Karrion, that's why he's lower on the card, or no? Karrion Kross was not brought in to be a top of the carder. He wasn't. He was brought in to be someone for Drew McIntyre to feud with after losing to Roman Reigns. He's not been given much since, and that seems to be the only plan. The plan seemed to be like the only thing they really wanted to do was distract Drew McIntyre with him, and that's kind of all they have done. They've not given him anything to work with, really. Eric says, my issue is that a lot of my favourites in AEW are champions. Alright, their case in point, Jamie Hayter, The Gun, Swerve. Meanwhile, in WWE, a lot of my favourites probably won't be. Okay, my suggestion there is stop defining success by championships. Championships are a means to an end. Championships are a way to get people over. It's not a reward. It's a responsibility. That's what championships are. Bucks Basement, welcome. Says, Tom, it seems people are starting to be convinced Roman is retaining, though the people saying this are the same ones that said the audience would turn on Cody. Let's not forget how many people were convinced that Sami Zayn was winning the Royal Rumble. They were wrong then. They're wrong now. Cody Rhodes will be winning both championships at WrestleMania. That's what I believe. That's what I stand by. That's what I stand on as well. Much like my own little soapbox, I stand by that one for the long, long time. We currently have 24 viewers and 16 likes. If you've not yet done so, please remember to hit that thumbs up. Also, if you're new to the channel, or if you've been here a few times and you haven't done so yet, please remember to hit subscribe. We started today on 2,174. We've just reached 2,180. As I say earlier, a good day is staying at that 2,180. A great day is reaching 2,200. We are planning to end the month, or reach the end of the month, on 2,300 one way or another. If you've not been checking out my shorts in the morning, I've started doing a system whereby I do daily wrestling rumors in a morning. The idea is that you will connect, you will log on, and you will come onto YouTube, and the first thing you will find in the morning is a short from me in which I detail the wrestling rumors of the day. They're collated by Cage Side Seats, and I will then read them out with my own analysis, sharing exclusive information that I've already shared on spoiler warning. So it's like a 30 to 60 second clip. Here is the wrestling news from the day before. Here is the wrestling news you're going to hear a lot about today. If you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. It's in my shorts feed. We'll be seeing a lot of it, and I plan to do it every day, or at least every weekday going forwards. If you like it, be sure to hit like on it, and we'll see how it goes. Bucks Basement says, Tommy said Damage Control is retaining on Raw and they lost. What change do you know by any chance? What I said at the time, I did believe that they were winning and retaining. What changed at the time seems to be Dakota Kai's injury is worse than they believed. So they're taking the championships away from them because she's not going to be able to carry it for that long, as it were. Okay. We've had long talks about the situation with Liv Morgan. Simon, we had long talks with you earlier on today. I'm going to make this very clear to you, Simon. If I have to stop my show to deal with you once, then I will never have to do it again because you won't be here. Earlier on, there was about 100 people in spoiler warning, and you literally were demanding my attention to ask the same question again and again and again. I'm not doing it. This is for everyone. I'm not doing that. There are plenty of us here, all of whom deserve a voice. If all you're doing is stepping on other people, demanding to know something that I've already answered, you will not be here. We good? Bismo says, glad to see you on, Tom. Welcome, Bismo. How you doing, mate? Been a little time. Well, not that long a time. How are you? Christoph says, Liv's last single win on TV was on January 20th. February 10th with Raquel in tag matches. Fans need to stop freaking out. She's fine. Less than a month ago, she won a tag match then. Also, let's not forget, by the way, she came in right at the beginning of the Royal Rumble, set a joint new record for the amount of time she was in it, and it took 2 people to make her pass out at Elimination Chamber. If you honestly think Liv is getting buried, stop watching wrestling. It's not for you. Thomas says, I'd love to see Samoa Joe versus Bronson Reed. Samoa Joe opens a world of options, like a whole world of options, all of whom I'd really enjoy seeing him work with. Jenny Oxton has subscribed. Thank you very much, Jenny. Welcome to the show. You'll get a notification every time we go live with our Monday and Friday spoiler warning news shows. And of course, the SmackDown watch parties as well. Also, because we're getting so many questions on spoiler warning recently, we are going to be doing, between now and WrestleMania, Q&A shows on Wednesdays. So specifically on Wednesdays, we're going to do Q&A shows on the same time slot as spoiler warning. Justin Check says it's a really good idea. Thank you very much. I'd imagine that's regard the shorts. Bismo says, great doing great. Thanks. Good to know, Bismo. Jenny says, is the bloodline all there? Yes. At the moment, all of the bloodline are there. That includes Sami Zayn. Whether or not you count him or not is moot point. He is there. Jey Uso is in attendance, though I don't necessarily know if he'll be on screen. Eric says, do you think Priest misses Mania? No, but I don't think he has a match at Mania. I think I think the 4 members of Judgment Day, of the 4, 3 of them have matches at WrestleMania, and Damian Priest accompanies many of them down to the ring. He was pushed very hard when he first came up to the main roster. He used that very, very well. At the moment, the storyline is Rhea Ripley, it's Dominic Mysterio, and Damian Priest and Finn Balor happily stepped into the background a little bit to allow that push to go ahead. Joey says, I wish LA Knight had a match at Mania. He was the best part of the Bray Wyatt feud. He was. And then they just sort of moved on and acted like it never happened. We've had 2 big drop kicks to start this match. Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley are back out, but this time it is Dominic Mysterio wrestling. We have seen a very small amount of people in this first hour. A very small amount of people. We've used the same people in a couple of different ways. Dominic Mysterio spitting on the mask of Rey Mysterio. I think he missed, but he still spat. Disrespect for his father is the whole Dominic story right now, and he is perfect in the role. Hector says, I think this is where we see Rey and we'll get distracted and lose to Santos. That, I think, makes more sense now. That actually is spot on. Sean says, can I say an opinion I have, Tom? You don't have to agree, but just asking. Yeah, you can always share your opinion. Always share your opinion. Sean says, I believe Austin Theory and Carmelo Hayes shouldn't be pushed right now. Don't want to burn them out and they're still young in their careers. They can be pushed in 2 to 3 years from now. See, that's an interesting point. I'm glad you raised that. There is definitely a point at which you're too young to be pushed too hard. Certainly, I think Dominic Mysterio took a while to really find his feet. Rhea Ripley, in many ways, on the main roster was the same. Dominic's there now, but he's not certainly World Championship level. Austin Theory is being pushed hard. Carmelo Hayes, I would disagree. Carmelo Hayes is being pushed in NXT. He's still being pushed in a developmental sense rather than a main roster sense. But Austin Theory, I get what you're saying. He's got it, but he has a long career ahead of him, and you don't want to burn him out too early. Hector says, is Santos face now? Seems so. It seems like we're in a situation where Santos is heel as part of Legado, but face when he's in connection with Rey Mysterio. The fact that I think it's telling that we're not seeing Zelina Vega right now, because Zelina Vega is what keeps him heel. So if she's not there, they can use him a bit more malleably. Bailey says, who do you see as the next big turn in the WWE after WrestleMania, whether face or heel? Asuka. I see Asuka turning heel on Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. She's already listed internally as a heel. Christoph says, I saw Samoa Joe recently versus Darby Allin. I was impressed by the level he still has despite his age and the multiple injuries he has. His style really helps him to get over any particular injuries or anything because he can just push through it. Bismo says, Emo Dom. It's the best Dom. The best Dom. Horsley says, I'm late to this, I know, but was it me or was Cody made to look silly tonight? Cody had no response to Roman Reigns just picking him apart. Eric says, WWE Twitter is savage too. Liv saying what's new to Liv, tapping to Rhea. Even as a fan, that was kind of funny. To be fair, Eric, if you're a fan of Liv Morgan, you're going to be surrounded by people who want Liv Morgan to be pushed hard. Twitter is an echo chamber. You get out of it what you put into it. Joey says, I see a lot of wrestling fans on Twitter attacking people that didn't enjoy the Cody and Roman promo. Just goes to show you how how toxic the IWC can be. Yeah, there is a thing in fandom where it's like, okay, my favourite is the best in the world because they're my favourite. Your favourite is the worst in the world because they're not my favourite. I like to think that in this chat, in our Discord, and everywhere related to what I do here, we can chill out a bit and just accept that people have different opinions, and that sometimes, even if your favourite is not necessarily picking up all the wins, they may one day be Sami Zayn. We have not been doing that recently. Discord's been having some issues. I will be taking swift action because I'm getting tired of derailing what I'm doing to deal with people who will not calm down. Just as a heads up. Hey Astrid, how you doing? So that brings a bit more positivity back to the show. How are you doing? How are you enjoying SmackDown so far, Astrid? Good to see you. Also says even the fans kind of went with Roman and hated the handshake. The fans did go with Roman from early on as well. From early on. At some point, it just became clear that the fans wanted Roman Reigns. And there's a disconnect with Cody and the fans at the moment. I think a large part of it does come down to the fans wanting Sami as well. It's difficult because you've got to choose to back someone. And when it comes to WrestleMania, we know Cody's a chosen one, and WWE fans historically not really big on chosen ones. Not big on chosen ones at all. Roman Reigns was a chosen one after all. Drew McIntyre was a chosen one before he then got fired. I think Dominic was teasing a 619, didn't happen. Santos losing his mind a little bit, I like that. Astrid says, so far so good. Have it in the background while I write my NXT review. Always a busy one. Always a busy one. Sean says, the IWC hates wrestlers that didn't come from the indies like Roman, Alexa, Charlotte, etc. Yep. So ideally, Cody should be in trouble. Bismo says, when it comes to sports entertainment / sports, it's almost like politics. Far left and right when it comes to your favourites. Very true. Blue, how you doing? Says, on Liv, I think one issue with the women is that unless you're in a title feud, you're not treated like a big deal. The only real exceptions are Becky, Charlotte and Ronda, which is true and a very fair point. Liv Morgan was treated like a big deal when she was in a championship feud. Outside of that, she hasn't really been. And I think that's a fair comment. There is a lot of booking problems here that all of the women are really struggling with, apart from a few ones which have risen above it. Sai says, quite rightly, titles aren't everything. True Tottenham fan here. Well, you would definitely know. You definitely know. Eric says, why do you think the fans turned on Liv? I don't think the fans have turned on Liv. I think it's worse than that. I think the fans don't care much. I think the fans were hyped for the championship win, but I think the fans have now moved on, because here's the thing. The worst thing that could happen for someone like Liv Morgan before she won a championship is to win a championship. And let me explain why. If you're really behind a wrestler and you're behind them because the WWE have never given them opportunities, and then the WWE gives them opportunities, what incentive do you then have to support them? The WWE, the company, the entity itself, is a heel. And I need to make this clear. Since Mr. McMahon, the company itself is a heel. And that means the company can be seen to hold people back. And that becomes a heel move, automatically making the person they're holding back a face. If the person they're holding back is a face, the fans get behind them, etc., etc., blah, blah, blah. So, this is why we had Daniel Bryan working against the Authority. This is why we had Stone Cold Steve Austin working against Mr. McMahon. This is why there was anonymous GMs. This is why all of this is happening. This is why a lot of people gets intentionally leaked. All of this needs to be factored in. What happens then is you have to ask a question. If Daniel Bryan had won the championship at WrestleMania 30, didn't get injured and held on the championship for a year, would the fans still support him? I don't think the answer is yes. I think the answer is no. When Ty Dillinger came into the Royal Rumble at number 10, what happened was fans cheered, shouted and chanted 10, 10, 10. Then he was moved to the main roster and nobody cared at all. Nobody cared. People fall in love with ideas. The problem is when you get what you want, sometimes that's the worst thing that can happen. Dominic Mysterio, with a bit of help from Rhea Ripley, has defeated Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar has lost a lot of matches on SmackDown recently, but I don't think anyone's saying he's been buried. Jenny says, I like that Becky and Lita won the belts. Certainly, it's a big moment for Becky. It's a big moment for Lita. Dominic Mysterio ripping another mask open. The audio, he's catching the audio perfectly there. Absolutely perfectly. Nicely done. That will obviously change what's going on into WrestleMania as well, which is very exciting for me. Also, he says, being loved or hated is great, but as Triple H once said, the worst thing is crickets. That is real trouble. As you say, Tom, the care has gone. James says, who could be the next Rey Mysterio when he retires? Dominic. Dominic could. Speaking of, Rey Mysterio's music has just hit. And he's headed down. We've just entered 2 o'clock, which is our draw segment. My hope is, right now, at this point, we're about to have ourselves a little brawl, because I'd be down for that. Christoph says, remember a few months ago, Ronda pointed out that women should be booked better outside of the title picture. In my opinion, Hunter seemed to be trying to fix that, but still kind of struggling. In many ways, this is one of the reasons, by the way, that Ronda wants to move to the tag division. Because that sort of fits the bill of not in the championship picture, but also kind of is still in the championship picture. Rey Mysterio has been taken out, and my BT Sport is having issues now. I don't know what's going on here. But Rey Mysterio has been taken out. Traffic says, oh no, the anonymous GM era, Tom. Why, Tom? Why? Simon, it's not about Liv Morgan right now. It's about WrestleMania. If I have to time you out again, you won't come back. Move on. Like, in a big way. Move on. Because I'm genuinely starting to be worried that wrestling in general is not for you. If you get this passionate about someone losing a few matches, you're never going to be happy. Never. So, you either calm down or you move on from wrestling entirely, because I don't think it's for you. Hector says, did Cole say Charlotte respected her father on the storyline where she berated him in the ring till he cried? There's a lot of back and forth between Charlotte Flair and Ric Flair. A lot of back and forth. Sean is surprised we haven't seen Charlotte yet. Hector says, maybe we could see Dom and Rhea versus Santos and Zelina at some point. I suspect that could be an after WrestleMania thing. Would fit very nicely for me. Sami Zayn is filming a short on his phone. He's still coming for Roman. There's a pop every time he walks past someone. I like this. James Kemple says, please time him out. This has been going on for weeks. It's insane. I've already timed him out, James. I need you to calm down and let me handle this. Relax. I've got this. Sammy's nearly being drowned out by the people behind him here. Takes off the hood, immediately everyone recognises who he is, and the people get behind him. I always worry with clips like this. Surely someone's swearing. Surely someone's swearing. Sami Zayn, the voice of the people at this point, declaring that the bloodline is going down. Thank you, James. Blue says, Tom, what are your favourite builds to Mania for both the men and the women? It's hard to say. There's been a few good ones. Certainly, I think Becky's build to the Triple Threat main event was fantastic. I'm going with Kofi Mania. Same WrestleMania. But I think Kofi Mania was just amazing stuff. Top to bottom. It it was just too long, so he started to lose faith. Daniel Bryan was magnificently insufferable. So, yeah. True, James, true. I'd imagine they can be a bit selective on it. Sai says the fans with Sami are big Daniel Bryan and Mania 30 vibes. Voices of people, I tell you, he's really connecting. Thomas says, doesn't feel like the Sami Roman story is finished just yet. That's true. That's true. It really doesn't. There's still a lot of hype behind it. Joey says, I think Sami is taking the spotlight away from Cody. I think Cody is taking the spotlight away from Sami. I think the story's right there for Sami. And honestly, if I was WWE, I'd pivot. I would just have Roman Reigns do double duty. One championship each night. Also, he says, Kofi's in of one great idea and great win, but 12 months on the hype had gone. It had. I think ultimately, the second he won the championship, it all started to go downhill. Fans were invested in the storyline of Kofi Mania. They weren't invested in Kofi as champion. They weren't. Hector says, alright Tom, what's going to set Ray off where he has no choice but to fight back against Dom? I'd like to see them have Angie plead with Dom and he slaps her and Ray loses it. That seems to be the only logical choice at this point. We have Montez Ford and Bianca Belair playing Titanic. I genuinely thought this was a commercial. She's wearing a very similar dress. This is very nicely done. It's not often wrestlers get an opportunity to show off their acting. And now they're taking a selfie. This is just awkward. Sean says Sami's facing Roman at a live event tomorrow for the titles. Yeah, but that doesn't really matter or count, does it? Let's be fair. It's not an AJ Styles moment. James says, when Daniel Bryan had all the fans going nuts with the white shirts, puts all this to shame. I won't go that far. I think Sami's doing a great job. Thomas says, I think they've got to do Sami versus Roman now at Mania. They will not be doing so. Peter says, I think they're both taking the spotlight away from me. Let me get the tables out. Eric says, what would you do with Liv right now if you were the booker? I'd put her and Raquel in a match against Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, Damage Control, and Becky Lynch and Lita. But I personally would not have had Becky Lynch and Lita win the championships, and I'd have done Becky versus Bayley. I'm not the booker, though. I'm not. Horsey says, it's fine doing Sami now, but for me, 12 months it would be gone. I'm totally with you on the great ideas, but they're what I call moments. Yes. If you want to build a star, you have great moment after great moment after great moment. Look at Randy Orton. You can point out to so many huge moments in his career that has made him an undeniable star. Then look at Drew McIntyre and you can point to one. Just the one. Just one. And this is why, while he's not champion right now, no one's clamouring for him to be. No one is. Eric, I've already talked about that question. Oh, no, I haven't talked about that question. You said Liv and Santos. Why? What possible reason would they have to team up? You've got to remember there has to be some sense behind it. You don't want to just say, hi, you're with this person now because. Don't work. Sai's absolutely right there, James. The problem is not Sami with the Saudis. The problem is the Saudis with Sami. And Horsey, it's not that he's against it. He will never be allowed to go there. Sami Zayn has been specifically told you cannot go to Saudi Arabia. They will never let you go there. And given some of the things that Saudi Arabian officials have been accused of, I ain't going there either. Ever. For any reason. Hey Jaden, how you doing, mate? Jenny says, when is Randy coming back to WWE? Jenny, I have actually released a video on that. I've mentioned this particular video a lot recently, so I'm just going to grab a link to it. It just seems easier for everyone. I'll just grab a link, save some people some time. Short says, I'm surprised AJ's US title win counts since it was a live event. His WWE Championship win counts. That was a live event as well. I think a lot of people forget that one too. Right, so 2 weeks ago, 1,200 views. Here is the link to the video. Randy Orton returning, when he's returning, and what he might do upon returning. Eric, do they hate Judgment Day? The feud between Liv and Rhea Ripley is long done. There is no feud between Liv and Judgment Day. Also, what vengeance? Liv Morgan and Rhea's feud is well over, and Rhea just beat her clean. So, again, there's no story there. Sai says, I love that on so many of the questions. Tom can now say, check my video here. I can. See, this is one of the huge benefits of live shows like this. If I'm ever thinking, what should I do for a video? I just put a video out on something I get asked a lot. But the difference is I have to be asked by lots of different people, not 15 times by one person. If I'm getting asked the same question 15 times by one person, I'm not going to make a video on it because only one person cares. It's why, by the way, I did the short on Jay White as well. Yesterday, I think it was. Which did very well, by the way, so that was a pretty good moment for us. Yep, the Jay White short had 406 views. 406 views. Because I got a lot of questions on Jay White, so I could build something around it. Drew McIntyre has just called out Gunther. Sheamus is answering it. This is where we build towards the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. Still looking like a triple threat. Horsey says, as regards the Randy Orton video, great video, well worth viewing, guys. Christoph says, so many great WrestleMania build-ups, it's hard to pick one. Kofi Mania might be the best in recent memory. Also, the backstage fight with Becky, Ronda and Charlotte when they both got arrested. Gold. All three of them got arrested, to be fair. I strongly remember Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey in the backseat of the car, realising where they are and then starting to kick people. Peter says, come on people, hit the like or Tom will lay the smack down. I'm not going to lay the smack down, but we do have 28 viewers and 26 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit that thumbs up. Sheamus is not happy with Drew McIntyre challenging Gunther. Not happy at all. This feels really real. This feels really genuine between the two of them. This feels really genuine and kind of touching. Oh. The Banger Bros have become the backstabbing bastards. Give me Gunther now. Give me Gunther now. Joey says, I think Santos and Ray teaming up to take on Dom and Damian Priest could be a good tag match. Would be, yeah. Horsey says, I've got 1k views on a short 2 weeks ago. I was flabbergasted. Shorts are a whole thing. LA Knight is now stepping up. Heading down while Drew McIntyre and Sheamus are talking. I am starting to feel like we may be getting an Intercontinental Championship ladder match. James says, do you think there will be that breakout group like the Shield in the future? Yes. I absolutely do. I don't know who it is right now, but they'll be putting one together. Lightning doesn't strike twice like it does with the Shield. I do like that McIntyre and Sheamus are ignoring LA Knight and just fighting with each other in the ring. Sai says, you may yet be getting your freeway. Well, I've been dreaming of a freeway for a long time, and I think this is the ideal one. Lots of meat. Hector says, if Jay White ends up in WWE, give me Jay and AJ at SummerSlam, because AJ seems to save his best for the summer. Classic. The New Day's music is hit. I don't know where this is going, but I'm liking it so far. Sean says, is Ali not allowed to go to Saudi either? Ali has been to Saudi Arabia and has wrestled in Saudi Arabia. It's an eye-opener for you, isn't it, Horsey? It's an eye-opener. James says, the Shield had everyone in their hands. You might say they had the whole world in their hands. Blue says, outside of Sasha, which wrestler or story has been the biggest draw for your channel? Now, you're absolutely right. Sasha Banks has been a big draw for this channel. which is why we get so many questions about Sasha Banks. So many people asked the question, so I started talking about it. After that, I'd say Bray Wyatt, to be honest. I'm on my YouTube channel at the moment, so if I go to my YouTube channel, go to the videos and just click popular, you'll see Bray Wyatt is my third most popular video at 4,600 views, just ahead of the Sasha Banks and Naomi contract update from 4 months ago of 4,500 views. We have another Bray Wyatt video at 2,800 views shortly after that as well. And they're the only modern video. Everything else is like 3 years ago. Yeah, everything else is like 3 years ago. Wow. Bayley's been good for me. Bayley's been good for me. Oh, carrying crosses here. Carrying crosses here at a time when Drew McIntyre's here. Nobody wants this. Funnily enough, if I look at my most popular live videos, 2 months ago, there was a SmackDown watch party that had 6.9 thousand views. And that was John Cena. John Cena's the one who made that one happen. Always an interesting question. And there is a fight ongoing. There is just a brawl happening. I'm liking this. Thomas says, this is how you build to a Mania match. Bismo's just saying LA Knight. So it says, 3 Europeans could be putting on the best match at Mania. It has 5-star potential in every possible direction. Dom says, are you going to have a watch party for the day 1 and 2 for WrestleMania? Yes, I'm going to have 4-day watch party. Drew McIntyre flies. Kofi Kingston just manages to catch him because he was going down. So I'll be doing a SmackDown show, a WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2, Raw show. So 4 watch-alongs in a row. It is definitely starting to feel like an Intercontinental Championship ladder match with the people in this particular collection. You enjoy that, Horsey? Peter talking freeways. Jenny says, did you hear Judgment Day is getting another member? I wonder who it is. I didn't hear that, no. Christoph says, 6-man ladder match for the IC title. I'm with you on that one. Horsey, Liv Morgan is not the new draw. There are 2 people asking questions about Liv Morgan, and that is all. If I did a video on Liv Morgan, that's a guarantee of 2 views. And that is why it has to be lots of people asking, not just one person asking a lot. Well, Horsey's disappointed. He thought he was getting a freeway. The freeway doesn't seem like it's coming. Joey says, I think they're doing this to build towards a Madison Square Garden match. That's a very good point, Joey. I kind of forgot about that. There is a Battle Royal at Madison Square Garden to determine who will be challenging Gunther. And this does feel like a build for it. Bismo says, Cross looking like Razor Ramon 2.0 in that shirt. Also, he says, 2 weeks ago, crisp, then chocolate last week. Now freeways. Wonder what next week is. This is why we do watch parties. Because watch parties, we can go off the rails a little bit and just have a bit of fun. Just have a bit of fun. Hector says, this is hilarious. Sheamus are still doing their own thing. Sean says, if this is the IC title mania, I'm down. We didn't see Gunther there. I think that's telling. Chelsea, AFC 2024. How are you doing, sir? It's been a while. I really do hope you're good. Says, Tom, how have you been? What are the matches happening at WrestleMania? Firstly, I've been great. Like, genuinely fantastic. As regards to matches at WrestleMania, most of them are set in stone now. We know it's going to be Roman versus Cody, for example. We know the Women's Championship matches. It was supposed to be Becky versus Bayley. That's been pivoted now. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler will be challenging for the Tag Championships. It is now going to be Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt. I'm not excited about that, but it's what we're getting. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio, potentially with Rey Mysterio's career on the line. And, of course, every possibility, Finn Balor versus Edge in a cell. Austin Theory versus John Cena. So, plenty of fun matches. Honestly, I'm really excited for this WrestleMania. A few of the matches have let me down in the excitement brigade, though. I'm not so convinced anymore. I'd get more than 2 views. I'm being facetious, James, but you get what I mean. When we do a Q&A on Wednesday, if I get a lot of the same question from different people, I'll make a video on it. But this, by the way, I know occasionally some of you get frustrated when I'm answering the same question 5 or 6 times from like different people who come in at different times. I don't get frustrated. because that's sort of leading my content. I'm making videos for all of you. So if there are questions that you guys have, then I want to answer those questions. If I focus on trying desperately to get new viewers non-stop, you ain't going to stick around, are you? Because why would you? What would be the point? There's no advantage to it. Whereas if I focus on making content that you guys are interested in, you guys will watch it. It'll get likes, it'll get views, and then YouTube will start advertising it, and then I'll gain subscribers. So I'm pretty happy overall, and I do think it's very helpful. James, move on. We talked about this. You got to let me be in charge of the chat. It's my job. Sai says, I feel like we all need a stream to play the Mania weekend pizzas. Oh, plan. Okay, fair enough. Also says, do a poll for Mania Watch Along on what subjects we talk. I would rather let it be organic. I'd much rather let it be organic personally. Jenny says, I bet they'll make Seth versus Logan Paul. That's been confirmed since the Rumble. Bug says, Tommy sounds like Post-Mania is a true start of Triple H, WWE, especially with all the main titles changing hands. It does sound like all of the main ones will be. The secondary championships, IC and US, I don't expect to see them change hands. I don't expect that myself. But I do think there's plenty enough reason to see some big changes. Sean says, would a video about Alexa do well for you? It has done in the past. That's a good point. And that's the thing. Any news that I report in spoiler warning, I could make a video about, but then would you guys watch it? Because you've already got it from spoiler warning. At the same time, YouTube is built on instant gratification. You want one piece of information, you want it now. That's why the shorts are doing so well. Oh, we're getting a backstage brawl from earlier today. It's not exactly looking particularly violent. Ronda Rousey seems like she's showing signs of being hurt. I'm guessing this is why they're saying we're not getting the tag match. SmackDown's 2/3 of the way through. It feels like nothing's happened. Big response to Ronda Rousey. Not a positive response, but a big one. But yeah, it's a good shout, Sean, and I'll definitely take that under advisement. A video about Alexa. After all, I covered some of that earlier on during spoiler warning. I can take that, I can expand on it, I can cover a few more sources and a bit more information. It's a good idea, I appreciate it. Also says Shayna has her own theme, let her use it, which I think is fair. Joey says, I hope the shows won't fall off after the Bloodline stuff ends. I doubt it. There was definitely a time when Roman Reigns was the only thing worth watching in the WWE. There definitely was. That's not the case now. Horsey says, would you ever see or want the European title back? No, I'm happy with the championships we've got. The European Championship never made me feel represented anyway. Even when Al Snow started dressing up as different countries, it just felt racist. Sai says, is Ronda's injury legit? Do we know? I don't believe so. I'd have to go to her YouTube channel to find out. Horsey says, I love the Mania matches, but I find the build slower than normal years. I agree. Usually by now, one of the match types has reached fever pitch, and then they just sort of leave it for a couple of weeks to build anticipation. At this point, he's trying to build it so that every single match interest and like hype peaks at the go-home show. That's not going to work. They need to not do that. We'll see how it actually plays out. Bismo's bored with Rousey. Christoph says Fury will retain. That sounds obvious. For Gunter, not so sure. I could see Drew winning. Horsey says it a 5 or 6 week build. I guess it is. After Elimination Chamber, it definitely seemed to cool off. We at least finally had Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes in a ring together today. It wasn't good, but it was there. Buck says, is this match writing off Tegan Nox because she's injured? I'm not aware she's injured. I don't think she's actually injured. I think she's going to be kayfabe injured, sure, but that's just a way to have her in a storyline for after WrestleMania. If Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey win the tag team championships, logically Natalya and Tegan Nox are logical opponents for them afterwards. They just have to give them a reason for it, and this certainly fits the bill. Justin says, match is Tegan, so why the hell is Natalya's music playing? Which is a fair question. Blue says, I find Bray interesting as he reminds me of Taker in the early/mid 90s. Before he started working regularly with guys like Brett, HBK and Austin. Good concept, but the actual matches are Which is true. Until the streak got really into it, The Undertaker was not must-see television. Not in the ring. Outside of the ring, absolutely, but not in the ring. And it just does not work anymore if you can't go in the ring. Also says, suppose if they do it correctly, that would make the go-home Raw and SmackDown must-watch at all costs, which is kind of what they're aiming for. Tegan Nox is getting absolutely destroyed. Sai says, I feel like you can do long-term booking without moving very, very slowly. Not sure Triple H has mastered that yet. Bray Wyatt. Long-term booking that just is not working. Shayna Baszler has squashed Tegan Nox. That was a squash. There was no cheating. There was no dusty finish. Tegan Nox just got squashed. Chelsea says, did Vince sell WWE? He's trying to, he hasn't quite managed it yet. Hector says, Shayna and Tegan can't use their own themes. This is weird. I think they're very much saying these are the stars. These are people you should care about. They're trying to get them over by association, which happens a lot. I don't feel Shayna Baszler is in a position where she needs to be got over by association. Tegan Nox, however, relatively new. Kayla Braxton initially had no voice, but has finally matched it. Gunter is backstage being interviewed. I like Gunter. I like the way he presents himself. I like that he's upset that his match hasn't been sorted yet. He just wants someone to wrestle. Let the man fight. Sean says, poor Tegan. Not a good look for Tegan, which is absolutely true. But hey, at least Liv Morgan lasted longer than that. Gunter wants himself a championship match at Mania. And he wants someone to step up and make it happen. He's not wrong. Bobby Lashley is here to respond to Bray Wyatt at the mid-hour draw segment. How does he always look so good? This is a good-looking man. Bear with me 1 second, guys. I do apologise. Hector says, I love that Gunter threw Adam Pearce under the bus. Bobby Lashley is acting like a face right now. And I don't know why. Here comes Bray Wyatt. Justin Checker just saying boo. And I've missed what we're responding to. Is that Lashley? Eric says, something I forgot about Liv. She's still getting title shots at house shows. So I feel like after Mania they might go back to pushing her. They've never stopped pushing her. They've never stopped pushing her. She has a draw at house shows. It works. Thomas says, I hate to say this as I like Tegan Nox, but this is the Shayna Baszler we should have had since she came up to the main roster. I agree. It is a good thing every now and then to make someone look dominant and powerful, and Shayna Baszler has been missing that basically the entire main roster run. There was one moment where she looked dominant, aggressive, destructive, and unfortunately we haven't seen it since. We briefly went back to it when she retired Nia Jax, when she retired Eva Marie. Now we are finally starting to see it. So I said, I'm still worried they might add Braun Strowman to this and take it down 3 stars. How else does Braun Strowman get on this card? Like, genuine question, because I don't know. I can't see Braun Strowman on this card if not in the Intercontinental Championship picture. The only other real option is Austin Theory, which I don't see because John Cena's coming back. Traffic's excited for Bobby. Blue says, speaking of buried, Shayna's entire main roster run feels like that, which is a shame because she's great. So much presence. Well, it looks like she's about to win a tag team championship once again. So even though she hasn't won the big one, she has certainly had a few runs under her belt. Stuart says, going senile, just tried to fast forward a live show to skip the ad break. I wish, mate. I wish. These are the moments I wish I could fast forward time. But also, to be fair, if it's a pay-per-view, for example, during the wrestling matches, people kind of stop focusing on the chat because they want to watch the wrestling. And then we just get a boom of conversation when it stops. So, maybe not. Bismo says, was it Vince's call to not push Baszler? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. He made the decision to not push her and push other people instead. James Kemper preferred Bray Wyatt when he's part of the Wyatt family. Chelsea says, do you think Cody should have won the Rumble? Absolutely, I do. I also think Cody should be challenging Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania. That's been the plan since he picked up the injury in June. That has not changed and does not look likely to change even now. We've just reached 2,182 subscribers. Big thank you to everyone who has subscribed since we've been live today. If you've not yet done so, please consider doing so. It means we've gained 8 subscribers so far today. We've reached the goal of 2,180. We carry on, of course, towards 2,200. My target for the end of this month is 2,300. And then, of course, we move into April where we have WrestleMania. And I'm hoping by the end of that, we'll be on 2,500. That's the plan at current. Christoph says, don't know if you agree, Tom, but this women's tag division needs more legit teams like Toxic Attraction. Otherwise, Ronda and Shayna might be irrelevant champs like Sasha and Naomi were last year. Sasha and Naomi were never irrelevant. I certainly don't agree with that. What it needs is people in the division who've just spent some time together. Now, at the moment, you don't have many tag teams. You have to make them somehow. So even if you are pairing up people who doesn't make much sense as a pair, just do it. Just bite the bullet, do it, and give them time to become teams. You have to give them that opportunity, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to have no tag teams and you're not going to be able to do a damn thing about it. Thomas says, Tom, what do you think is the best Bray Wyatt? I also think that Wyatt family Bray is the best one. The Eater of Worlds Bray, who won the WWE Championship. I've got that t-shirt. It is still in my regular rotation. It's still one I wear all the time. And yeah, for me, that was it. That was the guy, you know. I really backed that guy. Chelsea says, let's say Cody wins the undisputed title at Mania. What happens next? Who could face Cody next? A number of different people. I'm looking at Finn Balor. I'm looking at AJ Styles. I'm looking at Bobby Lashley, to be honest, even though Bray Wyatt's going to really wreck his momentum. Like, really, real bad. I'd like to see Damian Priest versus Cody. I think they could have some really good matches. But what I will say is that I'd love to see Cody Rhodes versus Jay White. I'd love it. This is not a good Bray Wyatt. This is an empty, vacant Bray Wyatt. There's not a mystery here. He's just treading water. I'm not very interested in it. Brad2023 says, hi. Hello, Brad. How you doing? So I says, I could swear Wyatt said, out of character, that his storyline will make perfect sense in time. Yeah, we hear that a lot from Bray Wyatt. The issue is time is not something he has on his side. He came in October. WrestleMania will be only his second match. It's not good enough. I don't think anyone's having particular fun here, to be honest. I just don't think anyone's having particular fun. Hector says, if Gunter loses the IC title at Mania, I'd love to see him challenge Cody. With Gunter, I'd wait until the moment at which he's going to win. I wouldn't take the risk of having him compete and lose, personally. Sai says, so far we've seen Howdy turn on him, then join him, the White Six become nothing, and the return of the Funhouse. The man's going backwards. I don't like to say it, but also it's true. The man's going backwards. Bismo said, I had such high hopes with Bray's return. It's been such a letdown. Hope things improve. Blue says, needs more tag teams that last longer than a couple of months. Too many get together to lose to the champs, then break up. I agree with that. You have to commit to a few people. Even if you don't necessarily push them particularly hard, commit to them as tag teams, let them wrestle for a couple of months, then start getting them involved in tag championships. And for the love of God, it should be so simple. If someone's getting a championship opportunity, don't break up the tag team. Just let them have the championship opportunity. You can do both. You can. You don't have to abandon one storyline for another. I'm definitely having some BT Sport issues. Because I've heard Bobby Lashley say SmackDown 4 times now. Hopefully I can get this working. Eric says, let me ask you a question. Can you see some Jeff Hardy and Liv? No. No, Simon. I've actually not watched much of The Mandalorian. I watched the first 4 episodes and I just didn't enjoy it. So I stopped watching. There's so much TV now, so much quality TV as well, that I said SmackDown again. That means it's going to crash. I don't know what's happening here. I may have to restart. Sai says, Lashley, the total face here and the fans are reacting accordingly. He was slapping hands with people on his way out. Like, people were behind this guy. So I'm having to restart the PS4. Sean says, some don't understand why Tegan is in the story with Shayna and Ronda when Shotzi was involved 2 weeks ago. Because in order for Shayna Baszler to look like she's injuring loads of people, she has to injure loads of people. She can't just focus on 1 or 2 people. She has to be a wrecking ball. She has to be a destructive machine. Ideally, the best way to do that is to have her destroy a lot of people. Shotzi certainly fits that bill as well. Eric says, I actually think Liv and Rhea would have been such an interesting team that was broken up way, way, way too early. I agree with that. Liv and Rhea were really working together really well. And I think they could have gone quite far. At that point, they just didn't know what to do with Rhea Ripley. They were making it up as they went along. The Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross tag team and then subsequent feud was then echoed once again in the Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan tag team and then feud. I just feel like they were treading water and they didn't know what to do with Rhea. They eventually worked it out, and I'm glad that they did, because Rhea's been very, very good since joining Judgment Day. But it took a while to get there. And I don't know. It's one of those things. Sometimes you just have to take some time. Now, God help me, if I open BT Sport and it's Bobby Lashley saying SmackDown, I'm going to have to find a different way to watch. I might end up watching it on my phone, which would be awkward, but not impossible. I can make that work, you know? I can make that work. Hector says, Tom, let me just say it's better your BT Sport went out when it did. Is it that bad? I'm guessing Bray did come out in some way, shape or form. Oh, it's over. Fantastic. Christoph says, well, that was Bray, and again, that was mid. I've come back just in time for Roman to say he's going after Jimmy. So it says, talking again and move on, I wonder if Jay shows up and turns on Sami tonight. I think what's happening here is that Roman is going to threaten to punish Jimmy, and as the end result of that, what's going to happen is Jay is going to return to the fold to protect Jimmy. Right, let's see what we've got. Okay, so yeah, Uncle Howdy attacking Bobby Lashley. That wig is terrible. He's going to get speared, isn't he? Oh, no. Spinebuster. This is... Oh, no, this is bad, isn't it? Right, so it wasn't Bray Wyatt, it was Uncle Howdy, and he just got battered. Is Bray Wyatt going to be in a tag team here? Is that as high as he can go? Oh, no, there's Bray. And Uncle Howdy's gone missing. I'm just going to post. I have absolutely no idea what's going on here. Because I don't. I have no idea. Hector, you may have been right. So I enjoyed Boss Glow versus Live for Brutality feud last year. So I says, all you missed was Jay White showing up with a clown wig and a unicycle. Not much then. Blue says, best use of Uncle Howdy so far, only slightly joking. Simon says, we are soon getting Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson. So we're getting the winner of the Bryan Danielson Award versus the most recent winner of the Bryan Danielson Award. I will always try and watch any Zack Sabre Jr. matches, and certainly that seems to fit the bill. Certainly it does. We're heading into the final 20 minutes in which we will have Sami Zayn versus Solo Sikoa in our main event. Roman is still hovering around. He's looking to pick a fight. And Jimmy Uso seems like he's perfectly poised to be the target of Roman's ire tonight. Is ire the right word? He's ironing? Either way, not fun. I'm not sure what Uncle Howdy is supposed to be anymore. I'm just not sure what he's supposed to be. Is he there to be a spoiler and just separate? Is he there to actually be important? Is he there as a key character? Is he there to be a foil? Is he there to be a tag partner? What is the point of Uncle Howdy? Because at the moment, he's just a waste. He just seems like he's there to distract the fact that Bray's not doing anything. Eric says, you can tell the walls are caving in on Roman's time as champion is running out. Bismarck says, been a while since I asked this. Any more info on Vincent and Dutch being a part of this Bray thing? Nope. I know the report was that they signed on with WWE in October. Why would you sign on and then do nothing for 5 months? Why would you sign that deal? Why would anyone sign that deal? James says, this might be a really stupid question, but can you actually watch Raw and SmackDown live without ads? No. No. They stopped broadcasting, so. Simon says, do you see Shotzi as a Money in the Bank winner this year? Nope. Nowhere near big enough. Nowhere near big enough. You have to remember, when it comes to Money in the Bank, you have to be at least big enough that it's not a missed opportunity, that it's not a wasted chance. It's why it didn't really work for Otis very well. Oh, okay. Next week we have a fatal 5-way Intercontinental Championship qualifying match. Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight and Karrion Kross. Xavier Woods just got screwed. Xavier Woods just got screwed. Next week, Ricochet and Braun Strowman will take on the Viking Raiders. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus have officially moved on from the Viking Raiders. Sean says, would you be excited for Brock versus Johnny Gargano if it ever happens? Yes. Brock does really well against smaller opponents, and that's exactly the right person for him, I feel. Christoph says, I might be in the minority of the Liv fans who didn't like Liv for Brutality too much social media hype. Rhea heel and Liv on her own is so much better. Blue says, Uncle Howdy is there to get Bray's brother a paycheck. Sounds like a smart move from the kids of IRS. I mean, Bray's done him that favour. Solo Sikoa is on his way down to the ring. He is not entering to Bloodline music. And the guy with the signs has got a sign saying Beast Wars Transformers sucks. Jimmy Uso is down in support. Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman are backstage watching on TV. And by watching on TV, I mean they're watching over here and the TV's there. People said under Triple H the TV thing would be sorted. It is not. Still just as bad as ever it was. Sean thinks Drew is going to win next week. I would expect the same, to be honest. I would see that one happening. I still think we're going to get Drew versus Sheamus versus Gunter, but Drew versus Gunter was the plan, at least before the Royal Rumble. Let's see how big a pop we get for Sami, shall we? Hector says, I honestly hate to say this, I've been highly disappointed with Bray, and the combination of his creative team and Triple H just isn't working. It's just too much. It needs to be simple. There's just too much going on. I agree. I completely agree. Come on. You've got to start working now. When I say watch live, you have to actually watch live. I need to restart again. Yeah, as regards Bray, it's just not working. It's absolutely not working. None of it makes any sense. And the idea that, oh, a year from now, one or two of these things might make sense to you, that's not enough. I'm not going to care a year from now. I don't care now. You have to at least give me some satisfaction as a viewer for my investment. You have to give me some return. And you're just not, you're giving me nothing to work with here. It's breadcrumbs, and I feel absolutely confident that the breadcrumbs are leading to nothing. A waste. Absolute waste. Eric says, do you possibly see Liv as a back-to-back Money in the Bank? Nope. Sami winning the Money in the Bank? Maybe, yes, but I don't see back-to-back for Liv. Blue says, Tom, I 100% believe you when you say Bray's still writing his and apparently Alexa's story, but I think that's a big part of the problem. A lot of it should already be written. Lost my pad. I agree with that. I think the big problem, and really the biggest problem, is that Bray Wyatt has some level of creative control. Vince McMahon would never have agreed to that, and now we're seeing why. Now we're seeing why. Peter says, my SmackDown has no sound. Thomas, your Beachy Sport is crashing. Wonderful. Traffic says, 100% agree with you on Bray Wyatt. Yes, it can be good in a year, but just like a video game, if it gets good after 10 hours, I'll never see the 11th hour because I'm not going to waste my time. That is a really good analogy, Traffic. Like, when I mentioned earlier about The Mandalorian, I watched the first 4 or 5 episodes and I was bored. I was bored. So I don't know if it got good in season 2. I don't care. I don't care. There's a lot of good TV. I chose to spend my time watching Last of Us instead. To be fair, I think I chose to spend my time watching Community instead because I've never watched that. Sean says, your thoughts on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? Honestly, still haven't watched it. I need to get around to that one. Like, I'm genuinely excited about that. I just haven't made time. I do work 2 jobs, guys. I do work 2 jobs. At the minute, I'm watching Dragon Ball Super. It's just turned up. The season 5 of Dragon Ball Super just popped up on BBC iPlayer. I don't understand why Dragon Ball's on BBC iPlayer. It makes no sense, but I'm going to embrace it with both hands. Christoph said, never thought I would be disappointed with Bray. Was so excited and happy when he returned. What the hell is going on? Bismo says the Bray Wyatt thing is on an extremely slow burn. Looks like I might be making a video about Bray Wyatt soon, guys. Eric says, I think this is where Solo takes his first loss because we're getting Roman Sami on the house show tomorrow. SmackDown will have no impact whatsoever from the house show tomorrow. I do not see Solo losing this one. I see it potentially going to a non-contest. I think Jimmy Uso is going to get involved. I think Jey Uso is going to get involved. And I think it's going to end, best described as a cluster. This is our last commercial break. We're not even going to get a long match. Hector says, a part of me feels bad that Bobby got roped into this Bray story, or whatever we call it, because if history tells us anything, post-Mania won't go in Bobby's favour. One thing I don't think has been factored in. If Bray Wyatt was indeed supposed to be facing Brock and Brock turned it down, that means that they wrote the entire Bray and Bobby storyline, pardon me, in the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks. If they literally did write this in the last 2 weeks, then it's not going to be good, is it? It's got no chance of being good. Sean says, I didn't like what they did with Broly in Dragon Ball Super, like him better in the Dragon Ball Z movies. As I recall, he was in one Dragon Ball Z movie and one Dragon Ball Super movie. I haven't watched that movie yet, but I know I'm well past it in the actual series. So he says, Last of Us is well worth anyone's time, cramming in our 4th binge of Breaking Bad alongside it. Breaking Bad, again, didn't catch me. Did not catch me at all. There's a lot of shows, like, you have to be really in my wheelhouse for me to be invested. For example, I watched the first 5 seasons of Dexter. started the 6th season, said to myself, what is this garbage, and have never gone back to it. Like, you don't have my loyalty forever. Christoph says, I hope they'll do Cody versus Solo before Mania. I don't see it personally. I think they'll be keeping the bloodline, as it were, and Cody as far separate as they possibly can after the championship change. Bobby Lashley is now trending. Hector says, you know what they say, Tom, the card is subject to change, which is absolutely right. But a storyline like the Bray Wyatt one, to pivot on 2 weeks and be like, okay, everything you said has to make sense to this guy instead now. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Traffic says, if Brock turned down a match with Bray, I don't blame him one bit. And Blue says, in my head, Dexter ended with season 4, kind of a perfect ending. I agree with what you're saying. I did actually really enjoy season 5. Season 5 is the one with Johnny Lee Miller from Elementary, and I enjoyed him as a villain. I mostly enjoyed the dynamic between Dexter himself and Lumen. I really enjoyed that. I've watched season 5 a couple of times since. But you're right, that season 4 is considered the best for good reasons. John Lithgow, I mean, take a bow. Sean says, The Walking Dead didn't catch me like Supernatural and Heroes did, which is why I never watched Walking Dead. Now, Walking Dead, Megan will not be happy with me if she's here. I watched up until halfway through season 5. At which point, something happened, and there was no point backing any of these characters anymore. Any of them. In order to survive a zombie apocalypse, I get that people have to sometimes turn into bad people themselves. But there still has to be people worth saving. There has to be someone worth saving at the end of the day. So I stopped watching that. Heroes, I watched the first season, started the second season and said, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not good enough. Hector says, I think we can't overlook that Brock would rather work with Omos instead of Bray if that is the case. He would. I can confirm that. He would. Bray Wyatt left a trail of bodies in his wake as the Fiend. Brock is smart in my mind to want nothing to do with it. Bismo says it was a good call on stopping the Dexter TV series. First 3 to 4 seasons were great, then turned bland. As I say, my cut-off was season 6. I really enjoyed Battlestar Galactica. I really enjoyed the character of Gaius Baltar. It's weird, because now I've got stepkids. I've got my 2 stepdaughters. They will never be interested in any of the shows that I love. Never. Never. And it's difficult for me, having reached an age where everything I enjoy is only for me to enjoy. Like, I don't know. I can't share love for Battlestar Galactica anymore. It's too old. It's too old. Nobody that I am raising will care about it. I think I can still catch people for Last of Us, but that's a stretch. But there's always The Boys. I'm still very much watching and enjoying The Boys. Kieran says, haven't they brought Dexter back? And Bismo says, 1 season. It is unlikely that I'll watch that on the basis of I stopped watching it many years ago, and I'm not convinced. And while I did enjoy a lot of Dexter, I don't think it's, I can't remember his name, the main actor, the actor who plays Dexter, I don't think it's his best work. If you guys have ever seen 6 Feet Under, that was magnificent. Traffic says, yep, how it is with my son. Even stuff I watched as a kid like Drake and Josh and Cat Dog and even Powerpuff Girls he thinks is the lamest stuff in the world. Yep. It's not made for them. It's made for us. And generationally, we're completely different. Michael C. Hall, thank you, Hector. Appreciate you. Sami Zayn taking the Samoan spike, losing with 5 minutes left. Sean says, I just recently got into The Flash. The final season premieres on February 8th. I enjoyed the first season of Jessica Jones, right? That's kind of it for a lot of that stuff. The Flash I never really watched. I tried Supergirl. Real cliche first episode. Really didn't enjoy it. But then that was true of Walking Dead. I watched the first episode and was like, why would I watch more of this? Ignored it for a year. Came back for the second episode and was like, oh, it's pretty good. We're at the point now of sustained beatdown of Sami Zayn. I do believe we're about to see Jey Uso. I've never quite got why Jimmy Uso had to do the thing where it's like, it's kind of unnecessary. Even when he kicks, he does it. It's very confusing. Kevin Owens is a possibility here. I don't see it. I think Jey makes this save. Solo's winding up to do it. Ain't no one here for it. Jimmy wants to do it himself. Prove himself to Roman. He's taking a bit too long over it. Jimmy being very angry at Sami while Jey has something else to work out. That's telling to me. There's a hell of a kick coming. Jimmy let the anger get the better of him. Almost like a Jedi. Or a Sith. Kieran says, have you seen iZombie? Recently finished that and thought it was pretty decent. I have not. I watched Santa Clarita Diet. I don't know if that's similar. Solo has recovered and he's coming for Sami. Bismo says QKO. Looks like Sami managed it on his own. Blue says, thanks for the stream, Tom. They really are a lot of fun. Thank you, Blue. I hope with spoiler warning it's informative. When it comes to the watch parties, I just want to be a fun addition to the show. That's all I really want. To be fair, it's kind of all I want in life. If I can enhance your viewing experience, then I can be very proud of myself. And when, at 3 a.m, I head off to try and tuck into bed, I just hope that someone who's been watching has been having fun. So I appreciate that, Blue. Whoa. The question as regards Michael Cole, will Jey Uso return? Now, Jey will not let Jimmy down. That has been established. Jimmy Uso may be threatened, but I do feel Jey Uso will take the knee to Roman as need be. Sean says, no Charlotte tonight. I figured we'd see her. They're definitely rotating their stars at the minute. No Charlotte, no Jey. No Kevin Owens. Quite a few people missing. No Raquel. No Braun Strowman. Yeah, they're rotating people a lot more on SmackDown at the moment. But we saw Cody, for what he was worth. He felt like an intruder. I don't know how to rate this SmackDown. The wrestling was okay, fairly standard. We've seen no progress with Sami Zayn. I get why we've seen no progress there. Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt was sad and a bit disappointing. I don't really know how to rate that SmackDown. It happened. I don't know. It wasn't good, I'll say that. Kieran says, iZombie the best someone who eats brains of people who've been killed to solve the crime, so if it's anything like that. No, and that sounds weird and a bit creepy. Bismo says, Jimmy's like, uh-oh, I'm so dead. Traffic says, I don't feel a single storyline advanced this episode. I think you're absolutely right. That's a very good description of it. Sai says, that's me out up until 6 a.m. tomorrow for the UFC. What an idiot. Thanks all. Sai, are you doing any sort of watch party or coverage of UFC? I know you do streams as well, but I'm going to be entirely honest with you, Sai. I've not really spent too much time investigating what you do, and I want to apologise for that. So tell me more. Peter says, later all. Later, Peter. And Horsey says, thanks, Tom. Off to bed, mate. Have a good one, man. Always great to see you. Kieran saying, oh yeah, John Jones returns. I've seen some UFC. I occasionally sit down and watch some UFC. I've had one mixed martial arts lesson. Just one. I got blown up. I was not proud of myself afterwards. Christos says, I would say average decent, which is not enough for a WWE show on the WrestleMania season. I think you're absolutely correct. This is supposed to be the build for WrestleMania. This is supposed to be hyping me up to no end. And it just isn't. Just isn't. Gotcha, Sai. Okay. Okay. Well, one day, mate. One day we'll see what we can do for that. I think that could be fun. Yes, Bismo. Cherry Coke. We have had 906 views, we've had 32 likes, we've had an extra 8 subscribers today. It's been a very, very good time to be Tom Colohue, and I want to just say a massive thank you to all of you for your efforts and for trying to keep me sane during a lackluster performance by the WWE tonight. We will see you again on Monday. There may be videos in the meantime. We will continue to do our daily wrestling rumors. If you do see those shorts, please remember to hit like. It really does massively boost the algorithm on shorts. YouTube is still learning who to advertise my shorts to. So it just needs some content. The idea that essentially YouTube will look at what you look at and be like, okay, other people who watch what you watch might like what you're watching here, so on and so forth. It's not a can, mate, it's out of a bottle. So if you do see them, please remember to hit like as well. And in the meantime, though, hope everyone's having a great time, because I certainly have been. I've been Tom Colohue. You guys have been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.